we play a game.
Barry Corbin has a long list of film and TV credits dating back to 1976, and he's still going strong today. He's had memorable roles in movies like Urban Cowboy and Wargames, and TV shows like Northern Exposure and Dallas. Recently, audiences have seen him in Modern Family, Anger Management, and The Closer. He's had so many great roles and funny lines in memorable films, you could spend all day talking to him about it, and he'd probably let you do just that. With his distinct Southern accent, natural sense of humor, and approachable demeanor, it's almost fitting that my interview with Barry took place at the Dixie House Cafe in Fort Worth, Texas. It was there we had a great conversation about Wargames and some of his memorable lines. Well, Barry Corbin, thank you so much for joining us today on Beyond the Screens.
Well, it's my pleasure. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, sir. So when was the last time you yourself have seen Wargames?
Probably 4 or 5 years ago. I saw part of it. I haven't seen the whole movie in quite a while.
It's one of those movies that if it's on TV, I watch it. And I think that says a lot about the film. And even 30 years later, it's still a really good film.
Well, that still is, I think. What I've seen of it, it seems to hold up pretty well.
The part you saw still looked pretty good?
Yeah.
Well, you know, there were so many great moments and so many things to remember about the time. I mean, you watch it now, and Matthew Broderick has the big computers and the disk drives and everything. We had the Cold War going on. What are some of the things, either just about the time period or shooting the film, that you remember most?
Well, I remember, number one, it started out, another person was directing the film, and they'd cast another actor as the general. Then when John Badham took over, he remembered me from an audition that I'd done for him, and they'd offered me a part which I'd turned down in Blue Thunder because I was doing something else, I forget. But anyway, he called me in. At that time I was doing the Thornbirds, and I was just about to wrap on that. John called me in with the casting director, and said, I want you to do this general, and I don't want you to be military. I want you to be like a guy who came up through the ranks, just, wear your uniform like overalls. I said, all right, I believe I can do that. And he said, and also, we don't want a bunch of military jargon. You've got to say some things that are in the script, but I want you to feel free to just, do what you want to do. And so they hired me to come in and do it. Good. Well, the guy who they'd hired as the general, they put him in the part of a colonel.
Ah, okay.
And I didn't know this till we were halfway through shooting the thing, that my second in command was
used to be you,
the general.
Yeah.
And I said, I went up with him and said, Joe, I didn't realize that I'd taken your part over. He said, no, that's fine. So that was the right choice.
So he was good-natured about it.
Oh yeah, he was fine with it.
Well, that's always good.
Yeah.
Because you guys had to get along and work together.
Yeah, if they'd done that to me, if I'd been in his shoes, I'd have probably poisoned me.
So it worked out on all angles.
And there were so many things that were interesting about it. The fellow I'm talking about was, he had a package of Red Man chewing tobacco sitting on his console. Mm-hmm. And we're rehearsing, and I'm looking at the screens, and I just reached down to take his Red Man, took some, put it in my mouth, and Badham said, yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I want you to do.
I remember when you did that.
So we did that, and then, I'd say stuff. There was one deal where Matthew comes in, shoves the guy out of the way, gets on his computer. And the guy he shoved out of the way was an Air Force major, and he was the technical advisor for the movie. And he said, wait a minute, I wouldn't allow this kid to get into this computer without a direct order from the general. So John said, can you think of a colorful way to order the kid to enter the computer? I said, I believe so. He said, you going to tell me what it is? I said, no, let's just shoot it. So they rolled, and I said that deal about a spark plug.
Yeah. You'd fizz on a spark plug if you think it'd work.
Yeah. And everybody laughed, and then of course we had to do it again. But it was kind of a tension breaker in the thing.
Yeah.
And it worked. I didn't think they'd use it. I just did it.
So that was your line. That was your improvised line.
Yeah. I didn't think they'd let me do that.
That's awesome. That's one of the quotes I think of from you. That quote, and when you are on the phone with the president and somebody comes up and hands something to you and you say, well, that's a load of shit. No, not you, sir.
Yeah, that was mine too, I think. Yeah.
Really? You know, the other thing too is I read that the NORAD set was for the time, the most expensive set that was ever built. You know,
well, it was built at MGM on the sound stage that they built Munchkin Land on.
Really, from Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, which is the biggest sound stage on the lot, and most of it was taken up by back projectors. Mm-hmm. You know, every time we'd blow a line or miss something, they'd have to reset all those back projectors.
Ah, okay.
It'd take, I don't know, we'd be down for 20 minutes just to reset all those things. Yeah. Now they just shoot it blank and put it in special effects, but then we had to do it with back projectors.
Wow. I bet it was a lot of fun, though. I think of NORAD, which I even remember reading was really the way they did it in the film is actually much more extravagant than the real NORAD itself.
Yeah.
So it had to be quite an experience to show up with that kind of set every day to work.
I understand that the actual NORAD headquarters, the war room, where we were, is smaller, than what we had.
One of the other reasons why I think the film is still holds up as well as it does, as being as entertaining as it still is not only your role in it, but you had such a really good supporting cast. You had Matthew, you had Ali Sheedy, and you had James Tolkien and Dabney Coleman.
Yeah.
All of them seemed to fit their roles really, really well. And I assume when you look at just how well you guys work off one another, you had a really good rapport on the set together.
Oh, yeah. Originally, the part that Dabney played, Warren Oates was set to do it. And he died. And so they had to recast it, and they got Dabney. And I think Dabney's a better choice, really. Mm-hmm. Warren Oates would have been interesting, but I'm not glad he died, but I'm glad Dabney played it.
You're glad Dabney was there, just maybe not under the circumstances.
Yeah, there's a funny story there. The second day of shooting, I'd gone home. My wife was pregnant. I went home and she said, I've got to go to the hospital. And I took her to the hospital over at Cedars-Sinai. And she was in labor all night, and my son was born at about 6 in the morning. And I stayed to make sure everything was okay, and then I got in the car and drove to the studio. Mm-hmm. And I was 15 minutes late. And I said to the director, I'm sorry I'm late, but my wife just had a baby last night, and I haven't been home, but I'm ready to work. And we shot one scene, and he said at the end of that scene, he said, now, we're changing the schedule a little bit because Barry Corbin's wife had a baby, and he needs to go home and go to bed. And Dabney Coleman said, yeah, and the funny thing is he thinks it's his.
Well, talk a little bit about your approach to filling the shoes or the boots of the general. It's 1983. We were in a Cold War with the Soviet Union. Nuclear war was on everybody's minds, and
I kind of modeled the character on Curtis LeMay, who was Air Force general and ran for vice president with Goldwater. I kind of, because he was very plain-spoken kind of a guy, and one of the things about playing that part, and just kind of a tangent, is all the military people I talked to loved the movie, except the generals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the generals didn't like. One general said that general was 30 pounds overweight and 30 points short in IQ.
Oh my gosh, they were very specific about it too, evidently.
Yeah, only the general.
Only the general.
Everybody from Colonel on down liked it.
Give you thumbs up.
Yeah.
Did you have kind of an approach as it relates to the environment you're in? I think of people that do horror movies, they're like worn out by the end of the day because they're being chased or they're having something take place of high pressure. Your character's in a situation where the whole country's on the brink of war, so I would think that's a kind of a pressure cooker situation to put your mindset in every day.
Yeah, it does take a toll on you a little bit because the situation's got to seem real to you at the time.
You bet.
And that I'd go home and be a little bit tense.
Yeah.
And my wife didn't understand it until she saw the movie. And then she said, now I understand.
You only had the threat of war on your shoulder, that's all.
That's it.
Nuking a whole country.
And I was having to save the world.
Yeah, that's right.
And I had to make decisions that were almost impossible to make.
Yeah. All because a kid wanted to play global thermonuclear war on their computer.
That's right.
Well, you tend to, not only with this character, but I think of Urban Cowboy or some of your other great characters, you find very unique, very sharp, but sometimes very funny characters with memorable lines. Is that your favorite type of character to play when you get these characters where you're able to come up with lines like the Spark Plug line or the Cabbage Patch line from Urban Cowboy, characters like that?
I was before I got hired to do Urban Cowboy, I was writing plays, radio plays, and also stage plays. Jim knew that, the director, and Aaron Latham, the writer, both knew that I was a writer too.
This is the group with Urban Cowboy.
So they gave me quite a bit of latitude, and they asked me to write some speeches, write some things for myself. So the last speech that I had in Urban Cowboy was one that I wrote on a napkin in Gillies. Just they asked me to expand that one little line and turn it into a closing soliloquy.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah.
And that's how that Cantaloupe Patch, line came about.
You think of a line like that, I mean, where does that come from? Is that something that you'd heard somebody say previously, or it was just two things you put together and it just worked?
I don't know. I don't know where that came from.
Well, that's an acceptable answer, too, because that's true, because, writers get asked all the time, where did you come up with this? And sometimes the answer is, I don't know, it just was there.
Well, I know what the basis of the Wargames line was, because I had a cousin that used to throw rocks at me.
It's quite a cousin.
And we were out in the field, out at my granddad's farm. I was driving a tractor. Okay. I was about 12 years old, and I had the tractor idling there in the field. I got off to go to the bathroom, and my cousin was there with me, and I said, I'll give you $25 if you'll get up on that fender and do your business on that spark plug there. And he said, all right. They got up on the fender, did it. It knocked him about 3 rows over.
Oh, no.
I think I don't think it permanently damaged him. I think he's had kids, but he was certainly upset.
Well, now you can tell him he inspired a film line.
Well, yeah. I don't even know where he is now.
Not only have you been, obviously, in numerous films, but a lot of television shows as well. You're wearing your anger management hat today, and we've seen you on The Closer and Modern Family, doing a lot of great roles there as well. Are there things about acting in television that you like more than film?
Well, it's much faster. This, you're talking about anger management. We shoot 2 episodes a week, which is very fast. Actually, we shoot an episode every 2 days. We work Monday, Tuesday, and take Wednesday off and work Thursday and Friday, so we shoot 2 episodes.
Okay.
And so it's very fast, very quick. I was reminded of that when I did an episode of Dallas on Wednesday. It was one scene. I was the only one talking in the scene. That had 6 different characters besides me that I'm talking to. So they had to cover me from angles all around the room, talking to this one, talking to that one, So I had to do this scene all around the room. The camera's here, the camera's here, the camera's here. We had to do it over and over. And then we had to come around and shoot all their reactions to what I was saying.
Yep.
For that one scene, it took about 8 hours, 8.5 hours. Whereas if we'd done it the way we do the anger management, it would have taken 45 minutes.
Yeah. It's just a slight difference between 45 minutes and 8 hours.
Yeah.
And in Dallas, the scene you just recently shot, you're an attorney that's going over JR's will.
I had previously played the sheriff on Dallas in the old series on South Fork. I was never in Dallas to shoot it. We shot it all out in California. It was kind of interesting when they brought it back. I thought they'd bring me back as the sheriff, but they brought me back as an entirely other character.
Interesting.
But they wanted me to do this part because they said, well, Linda Gray said Larry would be so proud that you're doing this. And I said, well, sure.
Hard to turn that down. Tell everybody a little bit about what you've been working on, what you've got coming up. You also mentioned you've even got a couple of webisodes that are live online right now.
Yeah, one of them is called Suit Up. The first one's about college football.
Okay.
And it's comedy. You know, I played the chancellor of a small southern university.
Okay.
And I'm sort of a con man. And I have to hire a crisis management expert to get us past some problems.
Okay.
And then I make him the the interim athletic director. He knows absolutely nothing about athletics, but I make him the interim.
Keep him around.
Yeah. So we shot that. That's already being aired or being whatever they do with them.
Yeah.
And we just finished a second one, which is about basketball. Got essentially the same cast, you know.
Okay.
It's
just different sport.
yeah, just a different sport. I lost a dear friend last summer. Ernie Borgnine passed away.
Yeah.
And I did the last movie that he did with him. He called me and wanted me to do it, and I'm so glad I did now.
Yeah.
It was, we'd always wanted to work together. We'd known each other for years, but we'd never had the opportunity to work together. He called me and said, I found the script for us. It's a Western set in a nursing home.
Yeah, I've seen the trailer for this.
So that'll be out. I don't know how wide a release it'll get, but it'll be out pretty soon.
Yeah, the trailer's online. People can see the trailer for it.
Yeah, The Man Who Shook the Hand of Vicente Fernandez.
That's it. Barry Corbin, it's been a pleasure talking to you, sir, and as a big fan of your work, I enjoyed our conversation, and all the best to you in the future, and thank you for talking with us today on the program.
Well, thank you, Scott. It's my pleasure.